Hey guys, what's up? It's Katie and I'm back with another Marvel Contest of Champions video, and today I'm going to be going a little bit over some mastery builds. Now, I've actually gotten a lot of questions about different mastery builds regarding suicides or not running suicides, and so I figured I'd put out this little video to kind of help you guys out with it. Now, this is technically the first mastery build video that I put out, with the exception of when I did my Legends run for Corvus, and I put out, what's a good mastery build for doing a Legends run with Corvus. Now, I usually run suicides and use pretty much the same basic build with it. I like to use champs that are suicide friendly, but sometimes situations arise where suicides are not ideal. So starting off with the offensive here, I have Cruelty and Precision maxed out. I also have Glass Cannon maxed out. I believe the health sacrifice for the attack bonus is worth it, and of course the suicide masteries. Typically, I think it is better to have both Liquid Courage and Double Edge maxed out, or actually not have suicides on at all. Then I have 1 point in Despair, Deep Wounds, and Assassin. Now, I feel for an everyday build, 1 point in each of these is sufficient. But if you, want more bleed damage or want more Despair, then you can definitely put more points in. Normally I would have more points in both, but I usually definitely only keep 1 in Assassin because it has severe diminishing returns. So 1 point though is definitely a necessity. Now in the defense tree, I basically need to get to 15 points before I can get to willpower. So 1 point into Vitality, Greater Vitality, and Salve, and then I max out Recovery and Perfect Block. Now between physical resistance and energy resistance, I max out physical, but in the end, it is up to you. You can max out energy or split the points between the two. Now in the second tree, I run only 1 point in willpower, and I run at least 1 point in resonate and inequity. But that is more of a preferred choice for me. It may not be that way for you. Putting points into coagulate would probably be a better choice, especially if you run Omega. Now I don't feel like adding more points in willpower is worth the cost, but that's just my opinion. I also put points in inequity and resonate for Void and Nick Fury, so these work for me, but again, they may not work for you. Now for proficiencies, I have 1 in Limber. Now in this build here, I have 3 in Parry, but in reality, you only need 1. It would probably be more beneficial to take those 2 points and place them in Coagulate or somewhere else. And when I switch back to Suicides, I will not be using this same proficiency build. However, I do like Max Stupefy to extend stuns and at least a few points in Pacify for ability reduction while stunned. So this is basically the build that I use when running suicides. However, if I needed to take points away to place in other places, I would remove them from parry and leave it at 1. Pacify could also have a few points taken out, that sort of thing. In my next suicide respec, I'm definitely probably going to be putting points in coagulate, maybe bump up deep wounds a little since I do use a lot of bleeders. Okay, so for starters, I would begin here. This is the bare bones suicide mastery setup I would use. It takes 40 out of 59 points. You can see the points that I have used up in the top left-hand corner, with the points remaining being 19. Now, after I have these in, then I kind of start to play around and, customize the other 19 points to my liking, and I will post a link to these picks below if anyone is interested in downloading them. All right, so what do I run when not running suicides? So when you're not running suicides, you have a lot more flexibility. So for offense, everything is a lot like the suicide build. I add 1 point in courage to give myself, some extra attack if below 50%. I also bump up points in deep wounds because, let's face it, I love Nick Fury. I keep Assassin at 1 point and max out Despair because with so many healing champs in the game now, it's nice to have max Despair. Now for defense, I pretty much have the exact same build as the suicide one. I still have willpower even though it's not necessary for running suicides, but when you get a debuff on, it's nice to get that little healing, that goes along with it. If you do not use willpower though, then that gives you a little bit more flexibility, in where you can put your points. If you're not going to run willpower, I would still suggest you max out Perfect Block and put at least 1 point in Salve and maybe even physical resistance. Now in proficiencies, I make sure I have 11 points so I can put a few into Mystic Dispersion. This entire build is kind of like a little bit of everything type build, little bit of Mystic Dispersion, little heal prevention, little attack, little defense, you know, that sort of thing. So like with Suicides, I like Stupefy maxed out and I have Pacify maxed out. I have 2 points in Mystic Dispersion, but this is becoming more and more unnecessary for me since I really don't use Mystics that much. I do like the Petrify for ability reduction, but technically it doesn't need to be maxed out. Okay, so this is kind of a bare bones mastery build I would start out with if I wasn't running Suicide. So this would be the starting point, and then, you know, build from here depending on, you know, what type of content I'm going to be doing and what champs I'm going to be using for said content. So this is the mastery setups that I use, or more or less close variations of them. Of course, when it comes to mastery builds, they can vary so much and people have different opinions, you know, on what ones are the best, what ones aren't so good, that sort of thing. But for those of you looking for some starting points, I will put the links to these builds in the description below, so hopefully you guys can kind of get a better idea on where to start, or at least how I run them. But anyways, guys, that's all that I got. Let me know in the comments below, what type of mastery setups do you use? Do you run Suicides? Do you put 1 point in Assassin? Do you think it suffers from diminishing returns? How do you run your mastery setup? Do you think I'm right with mine, or do you have a completely different build? Let me know in the comments below and let's discuss. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching. If you guys liked what you saw and you want to see more, please remember to like and subscribe, follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and hit me up in the Discord chat. Thanks, guys. Bye.